Hey everybody, Kelly here. So, I finished tying my quilt. You're about to see that I'm going to get a couple of the scrappy hot pads out of this. Actually, you might have started seeing that in the past video, but I think I'm about to finish binding them. And anyhow, the other scrappy project that I'm getting out of this quilt, isn't this cool? I'm going to make a pillow out of the points that I've cut off. And hopefully I'm going to get this bound today too, but that's probably not going to be in the rest of this video. I just wanted to let you know I'm going to get a bonus project of a pillow with this quilt. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, what else did I get out of this quilt? I got the fact that I got to use the old fitted sheet. So I got to use up something kind of repurposed there. Got the two hot pads, or I think we're going to call them all-in-one. And then I'm going to get a nice size pillow out of these. I picture it's probably going to, I didn't really do the math, it's probably going to be a pretty good size. So very cool. Alright, on to the rest of the video. Alright, so I'm just finishing my couple of hot pads here. I'm going to go ahead and take these couple of scraps off that I don't need for the binding. And then I'm actually going to work on another project that kind of should have done yesterday, because yesterday was National Sew a Jelly Roll Day. And I don't know that this is necessarily, well, it's the, I can't call it the jelly roll because that's Moda in particular. I think it's Moda, or is it Riley Blake? I can never remember. Anyhow, it's one of the fabric companies in particular. It's their branding, but it's 2.5-inch strips, and it's a project actually from Annie's that I bought on sale recently. Annie's has had a bunch of kits and that they were trying to clear out, so I bought a couple of things, and this was one of them. So this is my day after National Jelly Roll Sew Day project. So I'm just finishing my hot pads, and then I'm going to get started on that, and I will probably join Teresa Louise and Tiffany for their lives today, and we'll try to get this project done. And then I will probably do some quilting on this particular, well, I did the quilting already. I'm not thinking very well. I've got the binding done here, and then I will probably hand do the binding to the back after I get my little project done here. I may or may not add to this little video here. I actually, yesterday while we were traveling, I came up with a pattern for a jelly roll. So I may actually start that for this video. And then again, I might hold it off till a little bit later this fall. We'll see. Alright. So I just need to cut this one down. As you can see here, I kind of started my binding a little bit off. I usually start it in the center of one of the sides, but I wanted to make sure that that actually hit the right spot. I didn't want my binding to be exactly the same color as this here, and actually it looks like it worked all the way around, so very good. I was a little worried because I used both this color on the front and in the binding, and then this color here too was on this corner. So I just kind of made sure to specifically start it at a certain point so that it, oh, I got thread there, didn't blend in here. And you can kind of see my very, very free motion quilting there. It's kind of sad looking, but I'm getting a little bit more practiced with my domestic machine here. and just doing different little stitches and different things. You can see where I really bunched there, but oh well. It's still a cute little hot pad. So, and it might be like for my nephew or something like that, somebody like that. Maybe my brother. Maybe the grab bag. Maybe even my house, who knows. Okay, let's see what we got in the kit here. So I've done a couple of different jelly roll style rugs. This is a little different than I've done before, so I'm kind of curious. Probably pretty simple, but let's see. I don't necessarily want to give you all the sizes and all that, but I thought I'd show you what some of the different fabrics look like before I get to sewing. Let's see. I don't remember the name of this line. Must just be autumn. It's called the Autumn Day Rug, so it must be Autumn Day is the name of the line. Fabric by Nancy Mink for Wilmington Prints. So if you like that, I bet you can still. I don't know if it's still available through Annie's, but might be able to find it somewhere. I'm gonna go ahead and take the sleeve off here. So lots of pumpkins, and black seems to be really the in. Ooh, and little birds. Oh, that's cute. I don't know if you can. If you saw it there in the camera. Yeah. And lots of fall leaves, little berries, and a checkered plaid. Leaves, just the various colorways. All right, this is going to be really pretty. Alright, so that's going to make a nice pretty autumn rug. And actually, you know, buy these kits and you really don't even have to do the rug portion of it. You just use it for a quilt. I'm trying to remember how many strips it said it had with it. If it was actually 42. I guess I could count them. Well, from the batting it says to cut 30 strips, so I bet it's 30. So I do have one of these round on a roll batting jelly roll and colossal round rug battings, but I don't actually want to make that. This is actually going to be a square rug, so we just want to do strips. So I actually have a bunch of cutoffs from my quilts, and so I'm just gonna trim these down and use them for my 2.5 inch strips for this rug. So it's a good use to get them, good way to get them used up. And otherwise, I mean, if they're smaller than this, I usually cut them up and use them for stuffing for pillows. And if they're bigger than this, I usually will go ahead and actually sew them together and use them for battings for wall hangings or just projects that aren't going to get used a lot. Let me see if I'm not managing to cut this one right here. I think that'll work. Okay. And that shifted a bit, but that's all right. So I'm just looking for 2.5 inch strip pieces for this particular quilt project here. rug project, I should say. So like this is just going to be stuffing for pillows, and this too. And looks like I got just a little bit thin on this end, so hopefully I won't need all of that. I should have a good 30 inches there though before that starts to, and I'll just actually cut them as I'm at the sewing machine. Cut them to length, I mean. That one was already a fairly straight edge, so well, maybe not. A little bit off there. Oh well. And if I'm a little bit short of 2.5 inches with the batting, it's not going to be a big deal. I have to fold it in on itself, so. Alright, a couple more. Actually, I have a bunch more in my drawer, so I'm going to let you go, and we'll come back when we sew in the rug. Okay, so for this jelly roll rug, I'm actually laying my batting on my strip, fold it in half, half inch in, half inch in, and then you're supposed to sew it in half. I'm actually going to go ahead and iron it down, just because it makes it a little easier for me. And so you're supposed to do this with 30 strips. And then we'll cut them into, I think, 6.5 inch squares, something like that. And then we put them in opposite directions and sew them all together. So I'm just gonna finish getting my batting in this one here. So you can kind of see that if I just folded it in half, actually, I did that little bit right there, and I could probably just finish folding the rest of it in half and take it over my sewing machine, but it just doesn't want to stay very well, so I figured I might as well go ahead and iron it down. But it is a lot of ironing for 30 strips then. So either way is fine. You could kind of sew, you could fold it in half and kind of sew a little bit at a time, and then fold in and fold in and fold it in half, and then sew a little bit more. But I just figured I'd iron it down, and then it's kind of already pressed together and gonna stay easier. And you can see my strips were just a little bit longer. My batting strips were just a little bit longer than my strips, so I'm just cutting those off. Alright, I've got them all ironed. Now I just got to get them sewn down and sewn together. Right, well, I thought I was maybe going to go ahead and just zigzag 2 pieces together. I don't know what I want to call them exactly. Folded over strips, I guess. That I was going to just go ahead and zigzag two of them together without having sewn them down first. But I think it's going to be better if I do just sew them in half. And then zigzag stitch them as well. And my machine's being a little bit loud tonight. I have actually cleaned it out, so it's not that. But I'm wondering if I need a new needle too. Kind of don't want to get a new needle with this project though. But I will definitely need a new needle after this project. And I've got several strips that are already sewn together this way. I just haven't zigzagged them all yet, and I still have some left to be sewn in half, so I just wanted to see if I zigzag stitched them together, if that would work without having to sew them in half. But this particular one's just not liking it very much. It's been a while since I've done my last jelly roll rug, but I'm pretty sure that when I did that one, I actually like sandwiched them together and then zigzagged it. I don't know. Anyhow, I kind of wish that I had done this project differently. Kind of wish that I had just sewn the 2.5 inch strips together and made a front side and a back side, and then did like a double or even triple thickness of batting and just sewed it like top to bottom. But I can see where this style is better on wear and tear for a rug, because it's got the seams inside doubled up, nice amount of fabric. I don't know, it just feels kind of, I don't know, it feels almost wasteful in a way, because you've got, they say you're supposed to fold in a 1/2 inch of fabric on each side, and then you double that over, and so like there's an inch of fabric on the inside of this strip here, whereas the other way there'd be a 1/2 inch seam, or 1/4 inch seam on each side and a 1/2 inch all together. But maybe that's why, having more fabric inside the strip helps it with wear and tear. I don't know. I just feel like if I'd have just sewn the 2.5 inch strips together and made part of it the top and part of it the bottom, that you would see more of the you'd see more of the fabric. You'd see like that whole piece of the strip rather than this little half of the strip. So I have another one similar to this that I do really like, so I guess it'll be fine in the long run. But I just wish I like this, especially this fabric. I wish I could see these pumpkins better. I wish I could see the words on the other strips better. But we'll see when I get done. Okay, well, I'm just going to continue sewing these strips down to themselves, sewing them in half here, and then I will come back when I start zigzag stitching them together. So National Sew a Jelly Roll Day was this past Saturday, but if it had to be delayed for any reason, I'd say a visit back home to see family and to visit Edward's Apple Orchard and get some apple cider donuts was a pretty good reason. Actually, we went home to visit family for my mom's birthday. And I said, hey, while we're driving from this area to this area, we got to stop at Edward's Orchard and get some apple cider donuts. So, of course, we did. And we brought some home, but they're not going to last long. In fact, I'm going to heat some up in the microwave right now and have a little dessert while I'm sewing up this jelly roll. So I'm keeping myself off camera because I had to go sleep for a little bit. I was getting pretty tired from having traveled. And so I went and took a rest, and now I'm going to finish the project. But first I'm going to have a little snack of some apple cider donuts. I already ate one. And as you can see, it's kind of crumbling apart. But it was so good. And I had put them in the microwave because they're actually 3 days old at this point. 2 days old maybe. Anyhow, yeah, so I microwaved them. They're still delicious. My favorite part of fall, actually my favorite part of fall, is getting to sew with fall colors, getting to harvest my pumpkins and decorate with them, and harvest some of them and actually bake with some of them. And next year, maybe my favorite part of September and early fall will be picking apples. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. We'll actually have a few from our apple trees next year. We did have 2 this year, and they were going along just great. And you go out there one day, and of course, Dad was so looking forward to eating an apple off of our apple trees, but walked out there one day and pretty sure a raccoon got him. But then I think he ended up finding them on the ground. So I said, well, the tree just probably needed to shed those and keep growing. So hopefully next year. Okay, well, I think I'm going to finish my donut and finish my project. And I may even have another project for this week's video. Depends how I feel the rest of the day. I may also just want to go out to the garden and pick pumpkins and finish cleaning it up. I should show you a little video out there. It is a mess. Which might be why I don't show you a little video out there. But at the very least, I should go finish decorating out front and show you a little picture of fall here. So I've got my rug in 2 strips now. It was supposed to be 3, but guess what? I lost track of what I was doing. And so instead of 3 sections of 10 strips, I have 2 sections of 15 strips. I accidentally sewed one and put 12 in it, and then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to make it into 2 sections. And actually now I'm kind of thinking, I wonder if I should just sew the 2 sections together and trim it and bind it and just have strictly a horizontal quilt, which is perfectly lovely still. But the pattern actually called for it to be patchwork, more patchwork type rug. So, in fact, let me show you the pattern. Technically, it was supposed to be like that. And I really like that. But honestly, I even like just the horizontal rows for pretty fall colors. So I have some other things to do, so I may just walk away from this for a little bit and come back and decide later. Well, decision made. I am going to go ahead and cut it into squares and sew the squares together for the rug, mostly because I was not paying attention to what I was doing. And I thought I was paying attention to the first part of it, and then I probably got sidetracked with other stuff that I was doing, and didn't pay attention to how I was sewing the strips together. And as you can see, my rug is waving at me. So in order to avoid that, I should have sewn my strips in revert, like sewed one set going one way and then flipped them around to sew the other set going the other way, and then sew on the next one going this way, and sew on the next one going the opposite direction. And that would help not, so what happens is it pulls it all going one way, and then you get a nice curve to it. And so I probably wasn't paying enough attention on some of the strips and didn't realize that I was sewing them all going the same direction. Also, I had some tension issues when I was doing the zigzag stitch, so although those couple weren't too bad, but you get out here to the outside and can realize there were some real issues going on. But it's just going to be a rug, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to squares and see if I can't square it up a little bit. And because I had accidentally added a couple extra strips and then chose to add a few more after that, I'm going to have to figure out, I think it's 9.5 inches now instead of 6.5. Pretty much. Although I'm going to have to cut off part of it because it's weaving so much, or waving so much. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and cut, and I'll bring you back when I get it finished. So during a project like this, it's extremely important to remember machine maintenance. So I have cleaned this out before I started this project. Actually, after I finished my last project, I cleaned it out. And I cleaned it out halfway through this particular project. And cleaning it out again. So I've already kind of swept out inside here, and then all of a sudden I thought I probably should show you all this. So if your machine's ever being noisy or sounding like it's not running correct, it's probably a problem with too much gunk. And so it's a good thing to take off the plate and check it out. Every once in a while, something, like in this particular case, it's because I've actually got batting in the strips. And so also certain threads at times can be very linty, and you can get a little bit of this lint from the threads. This is mostly from the batting, but occasionally a lot of your really linty threads can be pretty bad as well. And so it's just a good idea to clean it out with every single project. And then if you're doing a project like this where there's batting in the rug, or in the strips, batting in the strips, and it's doing a lot of, so like I'm not even done yet with the project, but I still could tell from the sound of the machine that it needed to be looked at and cleaned out. So I'm going to finish cleaning it out, and I may actually have a couple pieces up in, let me move the camera here, up in the inner workings at the top here. So I'm going to have to do a really good look through all of that and make sure that it gets cleaned out as well. Sometimes stuff comes up with the needle and works its way into the inner workings in here. But yeah, I'm going to finish cleaning this out and I will come back and hopefully I'll have a finished project by then. So I've got some goodies here on my ironing board that I had pulled out last week before we went to visit family, and I had found out that Saturday was National Sew a Jelly Roll Day, so I thought, well, when we get back Sunday, I will belatedly sew a jelly roll. And so I picked out, I was gonna do this big game jelly roll that I got recently in a So Yeah box. But I think I purchased the jelly roll to go with a deer panel that I didn't actually get. So I went looking through the rest of my panels to see if maybe I had something that it would blend with. And I came across the fox panel here, and I thought, the only thing is I don't really feel like it blends well enough. There's a lot of camouflage in this, and you know, while the green would there are some green tones in this panel, it's more reds and browns and darks. And I just feel like this jelly roll is either fine on its own or there's actually something underneath this panel that I liked it better. But when I saw this panel, I changed my mind and didn't want to necessarily do the big game jelly roll anymore. I want to work on the panel and just kind of sew a jelly roll day, sew a jelly roll around the outside of it to make it into a pretty quilt. So I actually picked out this jelly roll, which has a little bit more feminine colors to it probably, but you know what? I decided the fox could be a girl. And so, anyhow, or I may just take some of the pinks out, honestly. This is probably the fabric that I saw to begin with that just made me like the thought of using this jelly roll with this panel. So in a minute here, I'm probably going to put the panel up on my board and start tearing into this jelly roll to see what I think, but thought I'd go over with you some of the other things that I had set aside under here, thinking that maybe I would work on them with this big game jelly roll here, I thought. So I've got quite a few scraps here from So Yeah scrap bags. This one I've actually kept as is, and I think I actually will probably treat this like it's a panel and literally just maybe sew some jelly roll strips around it to frame it and then quilt it and either keep it as a wall hanging or possibly a table topper, something like that. And so I'm going to fold this up and put this with this jelly roll, and actually maybe it will be a lap quilt, I don't know, we'll see. Or a throw size quilt, because that is a pretty big jelly roll, will make a good size quilt top. So, and then the rest of this stuff here is actually just all a bunch of different scraps that I've got in So Yeah bags, and so I just pulled it out thinking I can put that all together and put it on the back. So in this panel here too, I could pull some out of it to possibly use on the front of a quilt, but honestly I'll probably just put it on the back. And then my next little project here is not really for this weekend, it's probably for next weekend, weekend after, something like that. It's a Happy Harvest Farmers Market panel, and then I just happen to have this piece I just bought on sale like a month ago, and this right here, I think this one actually was from something else, and then these pieces were in a kit that Annie's had on sale. So I had bought that a while back, and the only thing I was questioning, let me turn the camera just a little bit here. Honestly, you can't tell any difference on the camera, so I'm not going to worry about it. But this truck is a bit more blue than these fabrics here are more of an aqua kind of greenish tone to them. But this is more of a blue. But then I also look at these and I think that's a green leaf, a lime green leaf almost. And that's a pretty dark green pumpkin. And then there's green apples and other greens in this panel here. And so even though this isn't the exact same color as the blue truck, I think it'll still look very pretty. And my thought right now is that I'm actually going to cut these into 2.5 inch strips and then cut them in half. So it'll be about like 2 by 9, something like that maybe. I'll probably cut them into 2-inch strips and do like a 2 by 9 strip panel, or strips all the way around the panel. And it's already a pretty good size wall hanging, but I think I'm actually going to make it into a quilt. So I will probably only ever hang it on the wall, honestly, but a lap size quilt for a wall hanging is fine. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put my fox up on the board and start pulling apart my jelly roll. So before I unwrap this all, brand new lint sheet here. I should have done this before I actually took off the band, but I suddenly was thinking, ooh, I know what I forgot to do. And there's still going to be a lot even when I open it up, or even after I roll this. Over it, once you open it up, there'll be more. But that definitely helps. Yep, because there's a lot more inside of it. And so we put it here on the board and get all that out of it. Try to go like that. Shake them out on the cutting board here. Ooh, my cutting board's pretty dusty too. I forgot to show you this little bundle here. So that Happy Harvest panel that I'm talking about doing next week, I actually have a couple options here for the backing. And I'm thinking if it's about the right size, this might be neat to put on the back, and then also border it probably with something a little bit different, but basically gonna try to make it a 2-sided quilt. So possibly that, but there's some red in that one. This one would be a good one because I think it would go with all of these little flowers here, and this has more of a spring motif to this panel. That way I would have spring and then fall, and literally all I have to do is flip around the wall hanging or quilt, because it's going to be a a lap size quilt. So I'm gonna put this over with that project. And I think this one's probably going to be for something else. But I'm going to set it right down here. Alright, I'm going to throw a bunch of these up on the board and see what I think. Okay, I think it'll be some variation of that right there. So I'm going to sew 6.5 inch squares, or sew the strips into sets and then cut them into 6.5 inch squares. That'll be 7 per row, and I think 3 rows on top, 3 rows on bottom. That should give me a total of 62 inches in length. And from there I will decide if I want to do strips along the outside as well, or a border of some type. Kind of thinking the strips hanging over to the left hand side there. Sorry, my voice is going. Strips hanging over there to the left hand side, that I may actually cut those into 6.5 inch pieces and do long vertical strips on the side and possibly one on the top and bottom as well. It wouldn't add too much length to it, but I'll have to see when I get to that point, because I hate to add more length and not really have enough width. Right now this is a 42 inch wide panel, and so if I'm already at 62 inches in length, I don't know how much longer I want to go without going quite a bit wider. So I don't know, I have some more strips here on the table that are actually not ones that I really want to use in this, but if worse comes to worse, I could use them and do more like a piano border on the sides. But I think I'm gonna just stick with the sewing the strips together and making the squares for right now, and I will figure out the rest as I go along. Okay, I've been working on my strip sets for the Fox panel, and I actually just wanted to come on and show you what went wrong with my rug. So I was not thinking when I was sewing them together, and I sewed my strips all going the same way. So for any of my viewers that are quilters and sewers, you already know probably what went wrong. If you're a beginner though, just to explain it, so if I sew these two strips going this direction, so if I sew them just like this, the machine is pulling one of the strips just a little bit more than the other, and so it's starting to create a little bit of a, I don't know how to explain this part exactly. It's going to start to create just a little bit of an arc. And so on 2 strips you won't notice it, probably on 3 strips you won't notice it, but if you try to do a whole long strip panel, you're going to notice it's going to, by the time you get to the last one, it's going to be in a moon shape almost, because it's pulled in so much on each strip that it's just creating a kind of a curve. And so when I go to sew this 3rd strip on, because I sewed these 2 in this direction, I actually want to take the 3rd strip and sew it in the opposite direction. So now I'm going to flip this over to show you here. So I actually want to sew it, and part of how you can tell with these 3 fabrics is that these are actually why can I never think of the words when I need them? Directional. So these 2 are directional, and so now I know I'm going in the opposite direction. The other way that I know is I usually start one selvage on fabrics usually has wording and the other selvage usually doesn't, and so I always try to put the wording, I start with the wording on the first 2 strips, and then when I sew my third one, as long as none of it has words on it, I know that I'm going in the correct direction now. And so I actually also want to take, this is where it kind of becomes a problem, because we're always taught to keep the smaller fabric on the top. And so in this method, I can't necessarily do that. So if I had to do multiple strips, I would probably sew in sets of 2 and then start sewing them together. So I'd have like 2 and I'd be able to put them on top of another 2, and it would make more sense. But in this case, I actually have to take these 2 and put on top of the third one here, and then I'll be sewing it in the opposite direction so that it won't have that pull that's creating kind of a moon shape. I hope I explained that okay. I lost my words a little bit in there, and I should like write these things down and work from a script, but I just kind of was finishing this one and wanted to come on and tell you that that's what I did wrong. So don't do that wrong. And I don't think it would make too much of a difference just sewing 3 strips together, but I figured I would go ahead and do it correctly on these 3 and show you what I meant. So and it isn't really easy to, it's not hard, but it's not as easy to make sure that they're lined up when it's only 1 strip on the bottom. So I had somebody tell me the other day that you really shouldn't stop and start when you're sewing, that's what causes some problems. I guess I never really noticed that. So I try not to do it so often, but I just feel like sometimes you gotta stop. Although I suppose if I pinned more, that would be why. But I was kind of thinking, don't you sometimes have to stop if something goes wrong? But I guess something goes wrong because you stop is kind of what they were thinking. So I should show you that. So anyhow, you're not really going to see it on 3 strips, I don't think. And you shouldn't see it in this because I sewed them correctly. But if I had sewn them all the same direction, you would be starting to see a little bit of a curve in this. And so I can't really demonstrate because but you would be starting to see a little bit of a curve. And so hopefully when we go to cut these, they're nice and straight because I followed this process. And like I said, really, I don't think it would affect 3 pieces necessarily too much, so. As you can see, I have actually changed my mind on how I'm going to do this quilt. So I'm opting for keeping it simple. the way I had the strips previously, I actually realized I've just done a quilt like that. You haven't seen it yet because it won't be posted for a couple weeks, but I just did a quilt with basically that same style pattern with a different panel. So I actually was trying to think of some other ideas, and I had an idea to put in some grunge that kind of matched with or blended with the mountains in this panel. And that is a very neat idea, and I might try it with another quilt down the line. But this one I actually just had put the strips up there as full strips, and I really like that too. I just feel like it just frames the panel. And so the quilting strips, the strips of fabric are pretty, but I feel like I should keep that kind of plain because I want the panel to be the thing that draws the eye. So I just went ahead and put the strips up there. I put strips on the side, and then I put a set of 2 strips at the top and the bottom, just because I don't like the vertical rows going up and out and not stopping. And so if you do another row across the top, here I'll get a little closer and show you. So if I do another row across the top, when I get it sewn, that'll stop those 3 strips from going up and out of the quilt. I don't know why I feel that way. I just do. I just don't really appreciate that technique. So, I mean, it can be done, and a lot of people do it in ways that are neat, but I just feel like they're strips running off the sides of the quilt going to nowhere. You could say the same thing about horizontal, so I don't know. I don't know why I feel that way, but I don't really like vertical strips that don't get stopped by another piece of fabric. So, and that could be a cornerstone, could be another strip border around it, whatever. But anyhow, so I'm just using up all my strips here. Did my strip sets on the top and bottom, strip sets on the side, and then a single row strip set on the top and bottom to kind of enclose it all. And then I actually have over here, I have some extra strips that I'm going to use for a scrappy binding on this. So, although as I am looking at this here, I have actually put the strips up on the side just to kind of see what they'd look like. And as you can see, this set right here is actually the same set, I just pinned them up there in reverse. So you've got your black and cream on this side on this one, and on the opposite side on the other. But then when it came to this set here, I didn't have all the same strips. So I did put the same strip in the center, but I've got different colors in the other fabrics. So I don't know if that's going to bother me or not. It's hard to tell right now, because one is more uniform than the other. And so then I think, well, maybe I should just swap out one strip for the other, and it can just be scrappy overall. I think that's the other thing that's kind of bothering me here, is that I have such light fabrics on one side and kind of darker on the other, or more darkness I should say, because there's 2 dark strips and a light on the right hand side, and there's 2 light strips and a dark on the left. So I'm kind of wondering about swapping them out. Let's try it. Okay, well now I'm not sure that I like that either. So I've got lightness on the top on the left, a little bit darker on the top or on the bottom left, darkness on the top right, and then on the bottom right I actually have 2 of the same strips as I had in the top piece there. So I'm almost better off with going the way I was before and having the same colors on one side and scrappiness on the other. I don't know. We'll see what I end up with. I've got my top and bottom strip sets on. Now I'm going to get ready to sew on the vertical sets on the side. And in order to do that, I need to trim this up. So I've just got it folded into a quarter here. So I'm just going to trim off the sides on both at the same time here. I think I might have moved a little bit. I think we'll be okay. Well, let's take a look. Like it. So I missed it just a little bit right there, but that'll get covered up in the seam. No problem. And a little bit there too. But I think we'll be fine. And now, hopefully I've got it all straight. That's the conundrum. And I guess we're going to find out here in a second. So when I had it folded and forced there, I actually had to do a little bit of a crease when I folded it in half at first. And so since I already have that crease, and actually it's still folded in half, but anyhow, since that crease is there, I'm actually going to follow that for my seam for the two strips that I'm putting on the side. It was too long for one strip set, but too short for two full sets. So, but I want it to be pretty well centered on both sides. I had thought about doing one side where the seam was way high up and one side where the seam was way down low, but then I just kind of opted for centering it. And the easiest way to do that is just to put your fold there while it's already, or seam there while it's already folded. So, but I will actually get a pin. Should have done that. Get a couple of them here. Or this is a good time for the clips that you can use too. Because that would literally just needs a few clips. It doesn't really need to be pinned a lot. Because there aren't going to be seams that are matching anything like that. Just that seam just needed to be in the right spot in the center. But might as well go ahead and use some pins here. Sorry, my hand was probably in the way there. So as you can see here, I'm going to have quite a bit of extra on each side of the vertical strip that I'm putting on. I haven't bothered cutting it off yet. I will wait till I get it sewed on, and then I'll cut off both sides at the same time. And actually, surprise, surprise here, I have a thought for what to do with these cutoffs. I bet you can guess. But boy, I think they'll be pretty. So, yeah, I bet you can guess. My go-to hot pads. I'm actually thinking this time I actually will do probably a scrappy casserole dish hot pad out of this. So I think I should have enough cut off from all 4 corners, that it should make a pretty good size one. So, and maybe I'll do it like I'll cut the strips into patches instead. I can kind of see that. I think it'd be pretty. Alright, let's get this sewed down. So some of this is going to be kind of a pain because I ironed my strips the wrong ways. But I just have to watch out and make sure that they're going the right direction. Alright, I'm going to finish sewing these strips down and I'll bring you back when I'll probably finish sewing these strips down, and then I actually have a strip for the top and the bottom, and I'll just bring you back when I'm done with the quilt top. Alright, so we're all pieced together, and I think I really like it. I do still wonder about the side strips being so scrappy, but I think I'm okay with it. I kind of wish, now that I actually look at the right side sewn on there, I actually kind of wish the left side were a little bit more scrappy and a little bit more dark. Or darker, I guess I should say. I just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of bright on that side now. But I think I love it. I love the pinks. You know, fox automatically kind of makes you think masculine. You know, the colors in this panel too kind of make me think masculine, dark, gloomy. But I love the pinks, just really blend in with or not blend in, but they actually highlight the red in the fox. And so I really like that. I just wish I could have been able to do the sides with a little less scrappiness to it. But I like it pretty well. Now the only problem is I have no idea how to quilt this. So that might be a video for another time. I do not have much practice with thread painting, so that's kind of a thought that I had with the panel portion of this, that I might just try to do some thread painting in the fur and in the mountain, or in the, I guess it's a mountain, but the trees in the background of it too. And maybe like in the eagle's wings, in the white of the snowy kind of part there. I don't know, I just don't have enough practice with thread painting to take on something quite this large, so I don't know. I guess what's the worst that can happen? It's only fabric, right? I may give it a shot. Alright, so the even better part of this project here is actually sitting here on my board. So these are the scraps right here. So kind of coming up with a little bit of a pattern for a little table topper hot pad type deal. So I kind of wonder though, it might actually be a real table topper. I was thinking one side would be for the back and one side for the top, but I actually thinking, gee, I could probably just put another strip in here. They're not lined up, but you kind of get the idea. Put another strip in there and then Maybe I'll have some scraps left from the binding to put around the outside. Find something for the backing. And have a little rectangular table topper there. Let's see, let me shift some of this so we can see it a little bit better here. Something like that. Yeah, that might be kind of cute. I'll have to see. I might just need another little square hot pad. Now I gotta think about this. Alright, well, that's my jelly roll quilt done. And now I just gotta think about how I'm gonna quilt it and what I'm gonna use for a backing. Actually, I think I have a backing. I'll show you what I think I'm gonna use. I think I'm going to end up using this right here. So it's got kind of a... I don't know that I have enough of it, that's the only problem. But it's got kind of a flowery tone to it. And so I'll probably end up using that. I may end up using something else. But when I get ready to quilt it, I'll have to come back and tell you whether or not I've got my courage up to actually thread paint it. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Okay, so I've picked out what I want to use for my backing, but I haven't quite got enough of just the black with flowers here. So I've got this strip, and then the piece beneath here, actually I can be cut in half, and then I'll have two pieces that are I think 26 long, and so that's only going to equal 52, and then throw this in there, that's only going to equal, I forget what it was exactly, like 65, something like that. And so I still didn't quite have enough length. So I grabbed this piece right here, which is very pretty, and I would love to use part of it on the front of a quilt. But the thing that I'm struggling with this fabric is, for instance, let me try to pull some here to show you a little better. I could see like fussy cutting that right there and having the deer's head go a certain direction and kind of fussy cut that. But the way they designed this fabric, the deer's head then the next one is upside down. So it's like it's in strips. The deer's head's right side up on this strip, and then it's upside down on this strip. So it's kind of an odd fabric for me to figure out how to use it. So I think I'm going to use most of this for the back. I will probably have like a small strip left, and that'll be okay, because then I will actually fussy cut it for something. So I think that's seems like a good plan right now to me. So I literally looked at it and I thought, it's a nice, even though it's not colorful, it's a nice images. It's just kind of odd for me to figure out how to use. And then like the tree is sideways.